We were watching this from this little island in the Caribbean thinking, hold on a second, what people doing with all that toilet paper? What they want with all that toilet paper?
It's a really good question.
They just go to the washroom and they wash themselves. They don't even need toilet paper. Either I buy rice or toilet paper. I buy rice!
Hello and welcome to The World as It Should Be, a podcast in which we ask our guests to tell us what they would change to help create their perfect world.
By listening to what they'd like to change, we'll hear more about who they are, what they do, and what inspires them.
This podcast is brought to you by the team behind Prima Donna, a uniquely anarchic and joyous festival of everything creative.
My name is Shona Abianca and I'm a book publicist working with some of the most thought-provoking authors writing today.
I'm Catherine Riley, a writer and director of the festival. We're delighted to be your guides on this podcast adventure. The World as It Should Be from Prima Donna.
Pop icons Pepsi and Shirlie met outside a London tube station in 1985 when Pepsi, then called Helen, auditioned to join Shirlie, Andrew Ridgeley and George Michael as backing singer in Wham.
In 1987, they released their debut solo single, Heartache, which reached number 2 in the charts and was followed by 2 studio albums. It was only kept off the top spot by their close friend George, whose duet with Aretha Franklin was at number 1. They went their separate ways in the early 90s before working together again, singing backing vocals for Geri Halliwell in 2000, following this up with a reunion tour in 2011 and various live performances in the years since.
In 2017, they paid tribute to George Michael alongside Andrew at the Brit Awards following his shocking death on Christmas Day 2016. Most recently, they've penned their joint autobiography, It's All in Black and White, Wham, Life and Friendship, which was published by Welbeck in September this year. It's a gloriously nostalgic trip down memory lane filled with amazing photographs.
Pepsi and Shirlie, welcome to the Prima Donna podcast.
Hey.
Hello, it's lovely to be here.
It's great to have you. So just to put this in context, I'm just going to talk about geography a little for a minute because I'm very excited. I was very excited to learn in your book that you met at Finsbury Park tube station, which is 100 yards from where I'm sitting right now. And so, Pepsi, do you want to tell us where you are in the world right now?
I am in St. Lucia on a very sunny day, and it's glorious, and I'm sending you loads and loads and loads and loads of sunshine.
Thank you.
It hasn't got here quite yet.
Just wait, it's coming.
And Shirlie, where are you?
I'm in Hertfordshire, but it wasn't too bad. It was a bit sunny today for like 5 minutes. But I'm happy because I've just moved house, so I'm constantly busy at the moment. If I'm not painting, I'm clearing, I'm flattening cardboard boxes. So, yes, I'm kind of a bit all over the place.
You're nesting.
Sleeves rolled up.
I'm nesting,
yeah.
That's right. Very important.
So should we talk about your book? We want to know all about it. Can you talk us through, first of all, the writing of it? Why now? Was it hard to do? And what do you want people to take away from it?
Is that to Pepsi? Is that to me? Or to both? You can. To me, Pepsi. Okay. What inspired? Well, I've been writing a novel which is based around my parents leaving St. Lucia. They're sort of like the inspiration, and it came about when the whole Windrush thing bubbled up. And I had their passports, and I was looking at their passports. I started to pull out pictures. I was kind of a bit angry. So I started to write, and I was sharing with Shirlie what I was writing. And she was actually inspiring me because she would say, so when did that happen? And why did they come? And what was the village? What did they leave behind? And all that good stuff. So she was really inspiring my work. And through that, I was pulling out pictures, and then I started to delve into our pictures. And it was like, Shell, have you seen this? And she goes, oh my goodness, I've never seen that picture. And then Shirlie and Martin had just penned their own book and had made some connections with Ida, who works at Welbeck. And we were sort of sharing a few things with her, and she inspired us, why don't you write a book? And yeah, that's how kind of the inspiration came. But in the real core of it were pictures, were images that kind of inspired us to look at our life. And we felt that we were at a point in our lives where we'd done so much and we were coming into a new phase, as it were. And we felt it was about time we wrote a book. But it had to be a book that was based on not necessarily about Wham, but more about us, about our friendship and the fact that we came from London, but different parts of London. Our parents were very similar, but not. And we just felt a lot of our story would help to inspire other people. Because I actually find it's an inspirational book. You know, two ordinary girls who had this having this extraordinary life, because we are still alive and kicking and living.
Very much.
Must remember that. So, well, have I said the right thing? Have I inspired you?
Well, all I was going to add, if I can, is the fact that Peps and I have always loved having really long chats on WhatsApp, FaceTime, and I think lockdown we most probably had more chats because we're just reflecting. I mean, we're always reflecting about our lives, who we were, how we're developing. We've always had this thought that we need to develop and be aware and conscious of your subconscious. So when we wrote the book, we were really insistent that we kind of spoke about very emotional side of our life, more than, oh, we went to a glitzy party, we met so-and-so. It was really about what drives, how do you cope mentally being in that situation? How do you not lose it? And Petsy and I were both very grounded and kept each other grounded because we're very honest with each other. And to me, when I read a biography, I really like to know the workings of the person's mind. So hopefully, you know, when we were writing, we kind of got to some of that.
Yeah, what the early stories, I really like some of the early anecdotes. Like you talk, it's really evocative of that thing about youth, when you like the DIY thing. So you talk about when you were starting out, you know, learning dance routines with George and Andrew, and one of your friends worked in a swimming pool, so you'd go for a swim when they were working there. One worked in the cinema, so you'd go and see a film. You know, that kind of brilliant energy that young people have. And it's not a book about, you know, it's not name droppy at all. It's not that kind of book. That's what makes it really enjoyable.
But I think that's one of the things about the book that is actually appealing to your fans. Even, you know, during the heyday of Wham and when you went solo, your fans were really very down to earth, and they loved the fact that you two were very down to earth, and they saw you as girls made good. You know, that you got to where you were, but you still managed to retain this kind of persona of being very approachable and friendly and not up your own arses at all. So I think the book really reflects that, you know, the fact that you did go to parties and hang out with celebrities, but most of the time you were chatting in the room and gossiping over a cup of tea, and, you know, you both stayed very grounded and close to your families. So when you were writing it, did you find that you were really happy to bring that out and make it much clearer that that's how you were?
Yeah, for me, Pepsi, it was the only requirement, and I was determined not to make it a celebrity kiss and tell book, because we've really got nothing to tell in that area. I think everything's been told what needs to be told. And we wanted to really share our family life, because, again, we know a lot of people have gone through what we've gone through, especially with my dad and his drinking. And, you know, the fact that, you know, we grew up with not very much. There was a lot of love, but there wasn't very much as far as abundance in money or beautiful homes or anything like that. We were ordinary girls. I was an ordinary girl. But underlying all of that, despite where we were in our lives, we had a real dream. And like in the book, there is a reoccurring dream that I have that kept me, how can I say, it kept me in a wonder, because wherever I was, and if I was having a really awful time, I was always like, this cannot be it. This surely can't be it, you know. The screaming, my mother screaming at my dad, you know, me trying to sort of get on at school, and I wasn't very clever or very bright, but I had this imagination and it wasn't tapped into. And most of the time I was like really bored and like really kind of left to my own devices. So I created a bit of a dream world that had an energy of like, this cannot be it. There must be more to life than this, So all through my life, I've always had that feeling of, especially if I'm going through any form of adversity, it's like, surely this can't be it. There's got to be more to life than this. So, I hope that comes out in the book and people realize that where they are now, there is a incredible potential to move into a better place than where you are at that present moment. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you wouldn't have got the job, as it were, if you hadn't have walked out of a different job. Is that right?
Well, I still had the job, but I mean, I was willing to do anything to live my dream. Do you know what I mean? It was like, see ya, I'm going to go travel the world, And the thing is, I would do anything. I was doing any kind of work that came my way. But the thing that kept me buoyant and happy was the fact that I was sort of singing in local bands and people were starting to get to know me as a singer. How I was going to do it, I don't know. So, receiving that phone call, that moment of transformation right there was like a dream come true. And in the book, I do mention, I don't actually know who recommended me. So thank you, whoever you are out there. Thank you very much.
Shirlie, was it the same for you? Because you were kind of having fun with George, and Andrew, your school friends, and like mucking around at home in their bedrooms and singing and dancing. But was that always a dream to be on the stage for you?
My dream when I was younger was to be a ballet dancer because I used to literally walk around on my tiptoes. I could, and I was not double jointed. I was, what's the word called? Hypermobile. So as a young girl, I just loved acrobats. I wanted to be a gymnast. I wanted to be a ballet dancer. But my mum, very much like Pepsi, I mean, this is where we are so similar. I was brought up in a big family, kind of not given any attention. So I had to create this dream world. And then obviously when Top of the Pops came on and I watched Pan's People, I would literally stand in front of the TV copying everything they did, like everything Pan's People did. I'd run up and get my mum's chiffon scarves, tie them round to my arms, and everyone would go, sit down, get out of the way of the telly. But I'd literally gone off into a dream world. And I do believe that to manifest things in life, you really do have to have it that strongly, that you sense that you're already there. And so, was I ever ambitious to think, oh, I'm going to be a dancer or a singer? No, never. I was actually working with horses. I was teaching disabled children to ride because I wanted to become a qualified riding instructor. I got hay fever and it brought on asthma. And at that time, I was hanging out with George and Andrew, and they were getting this band together. And they realised after they recorded some songs that how can two of us just go and do a performance? So they said, Shirley, we were going out clubbing and dancing and making up these routines long before Wham. And they said, well, why don't you come and dance with us? Would you do a PA? And I'm going, yeah, of course I would, but what is a PA? And they were like, oh, we just stand up and mime. And I'm like, why? Why would you even do that? Because I was a punk girl. I'd go and watch live bands play and real musicians. And I thought, this is never going to work. This is crazy. Like, who wants to see these people standing up there dancing and miming? First PA we did, oh my goodness, brought the house down. People were applauding. We were asked to go back. It was always a big mystery in the beginning to me that people liked it. So yeah, all of a sudden, then we go on Top of the Pops, and I realised, oh my God, that little girl who used to stand in front and watch Pan's People of the TV is now the girl on the television.
Still with the chiffon. So,
yes, I forgot the chiffon scarves at that point.
Now, do you know what, Cheryl? I actually think this is the first time I have heard. I always knew that you were fascinated by the Pan's People, because Shirley
Yeah.
always used to have this sort of play acting thing that she used to do. And I used to sort of get myself all involved, you know. But it's incredible, you know, like growing up watching Top of the Pops, it was very rarely that I saw someone who looked like me, you know. So I didn't actually, I was never really inspired in the same way. But then I heard Aretha Franklin, and there was like Millie Small, My Boy Lollipop. This might be before your time, you know. So I had very few kind of inspired images to kind of go by. But meeting Shirley, and we used to sort of mess around and keep ourselves amused. There were things that she said, okay, let's pretend to be Pan's people. And now it all makes sense.
And you were thinking, who's Pan's people?
No, I knew who Pan's people
What
were.
is she talking about?
We were all obsessed with Pan's
Bloody hell, she wants me to put bloody scarves on again. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is it? Now it all makes sense, Shell. All makes sense.
Well, I'm glad we got there for you.
Yeah.
Speaking of chiffon, I want to talk. There's a lot of amazing fashion, both in what you write and in the photographs that are included in the book. Is it true that can you talk us through your invention of the puffball skirt?
Well, I always loved fashion. Something I was the great thing about the 80s was the music and fashion, and the 70s and the 60s. I mean, 50s, yeah. I mean, you could keep going back in time. Fashion and music were, sorry about the dog barking. Fashion and music were, you know, part of the same tribe. You would tell what music people like by what they're wearing. So after Wham, we it was all a bit tongue in cheek what we wore in Wham. It was never serious. It was always had this comedy.
I took it seriously.
I mean, you look at those clothes we wore; they were like, to me, it was always tongue in cheek.
There was a lot of fun. They were so fun.
Yeah, they were fun. And so when it came to Pepsi, and I'm like, Peps, we've got to get an image. And so we worked with this. We got this lady in who is a stylist called Suzanne Rose, and she was just perfect for us because we wanted this boyish image. But we got the Emmanuels. She got us, David and Elizabeth Emmanuel dresses. We paired them with Dr. Martens. There was a kind of influence from Vivienne Westwood with the what are they called? The bodices, yeah. And it just kind of evolved.
Yeah, I guess what's beautiful about it though is that girls could copy you like I did at that time, and then you could go out dancing and you wouldn't have to wear heels or look really girly or you could still look really stylish and dance all night.
Tucker boots.
This is the thing, Shona. For me, I was such a tomboy. It was like, look, I really can't do the heels and pretend.
My mum wouldn't have let me do it anyway.
No,
so I was allowed to wear that.
I'm not doing
that.
Well,
we had the baseball boots, didn't we, with long socks?
Yeah. I mean, our first single cover, we've got these Emmanuel ball gowns on this sofa, and we were determined to get our boots in. And there's like, if you look, we've lifted our legs up, and you could see like this silver black boot kind of thing.
They were biker boots.
Yeah, but the thing
Harley
for us,
Davidson.
Yeah, of course. And the thing for us, we would say things and just wait for people's reactions, and it was like, okay, they've got it. You know what I mean? They're not saying no. So they've got it. So having Suzanne, it was like, for her, it was a dream job. What? Puffballs with what? Victorian jackets and petticoats and boots? It was like, yes. And it was like, wow, she gets us.
And we had antique Victorian bloomers, cotton bloomers with, I mean, it was just, I just loved that eclectic mix of clothes.
Yeah.
That was a big part of I really loved the fashion side.
And Shirley was very, very good at persuading me to wear things that I just would not wear. You know, it was like, but Peps, you look fantastic. You look amazing. Come on, look, show yourself. And I was like, look, all I want to do is sing. No, Peps, we've got to get our image.
No, I can't wear that.
Well, we've talked about this before, but Shirley is an Aries, very much an Aries.
Persuasive leader.
I let her do her thing. It's all in good humor, and it's all about, you know, just being creative and all of that. So I regard myself as an artist, but I was never one for wearing outrageous stuff. You know what I mean? I would sort of just be as normal as I could physically, but I would be enticed by certain music and art and things like that. So, but Shirlie was the all-rounder, you know. She'd wear it, make it, live it.
And make you do it.
And make me do it.
But perhaps you've got to do it with me because I needed a partner in crime.
Oh, I was the perfect partner for Shirlie. Bloody hell. I was such the perfect partner. Sure, all right then. Close my eyes, go for it. And I'd open my eyes. Oh, that actually looks quite nice. See? Told you. There you go.
What was Shirlie's quote, Pepsi, from the campaign? I'm not bossy, I just have a lot of ideas.
There you go.
She said.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
I must remember that. That is
a good
perfect
line.
description of
Very
Shirley.
good.
Absolutely.
The final chapter of the book lists your rules for friendship, one of which you've just touched on. But was there ever a time when you fell out? Is there anything you want to get off your chest now? In this book?
No.
Come on. Or what are your tips?
We're
to
both fire signs. So listen,
Okay.
if we're going to say it, we say it immediately. It's like
really?
it just
It's out.
bursts out. And that's our relationship. And that's why it makes you so comfortable. You know, it's like family. Pepsi's like how I could row with my sister and then we know, oh, look, we're sisters.
Nothing
I always feel the same.
There was a
with
moment
Peps.
recently.
Oh,
Yes.
hang on.
Here it goes. You know I'm good. Anyway, in fact, Shona, you were there. It was like we were doing this morning, and Shirley was just like so exhausted, and she's given her all. She's been packing,
Miserable. I just moved house.
Trying getting the house thing done, and she appears and she wants to have this big smile on her face, but I can see she's really, really tired. So she rocks up to the studio, the TV studio. I'm in the dressing room, and she just arrives. She doesn't say hello. She doesn't say hi. I've travelled miles to be there. You know what I mean? Not even like, are you all right, Peps? Nothing. And I thought, right, you know. And then she sort of disappeared into the bathroom. And I said, I'm like, so is that it? Is that it? Is that how we're going to start today? Is that? And she's like, sorry, Peps, I'm so tired. Okay, good. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, she said. And that's how we work things out.
Well, that's right. And I like that. That's the type. That's the type of So the thing is, Pepsi and I grew up in a big family where big families are quite confrontational with each other, especially when you've got boys and girls. So what I remember when I met my husband, he was really shocked at how forthright I was and honest I was. He'd be like, what? What did you say? But because I'd grown up and you had to defend yourself against brother. I mean, my brothers would wrestle me, throw me across the room. I was ready to kick, punch. And so I was always on the defense. So when I met Peps, we were just so similar with like snapping back at each other that in the end you start laughing. It turns in, it makes it funny.
It's
I'm
like,
sure that's
Shirley,
part of the
matey,
reason.
don't you dare. Don't you even try it with me, love.
I really think that's part of the reason you're still friends, because so many friendships break because things fester.
And they go
let
silent.
Things grow and grow inside them. But I really think it's really important that people are very honest immediately with each other. I mean, me and Catherine.
I was just going to say, I feel like there's something coming here. I'm not ready for it.
Here we go, another little bossy little Aries right there. Look.
When's your birthday, Catherine?
January. I'm an Aquarian. I don't know what that means. I think it means I'm in trouble. Okay, shall we move on to your three things? We will no doubt talk more about the book as we go along. So it was really sweet that both we asked you for your three ideas for changing the world, and both of you came up with really similar kind of ideas, which is a measure of the similarities that kind of run through the book, and you know the friendship that's so obvious in talking with you. So we've paired them up, and we're going to take them kind of thematically because they're similar. So Shona, you're gonna take the first. Couple of questions which are about kind of school.
Yeah, I was intrigued that you're very similar, and school had a big influence on both of you for different reasons. So Pepsi, can you talk us through your first one that was kind of around your school days?
For me, with school, I had no inspiration to be in the actual classroom. I was constantly looking out as to where I could be other than where I was. And over the years, I've come to really appreciate more and more like being out in nature and how I'm really connecting with nature in a way that I'm sort of seeing and appreciating. And it's teaching me a lot about myself. And through that, I've actually started to get into cultivating. I love putting a seed in the soil and watching it grow. And what it does is it keeps me curious and excited about life and the beauty of it and the fact that you can grow your own food, you know.
Yeah.
And the way that the world is now, I believe that all schools should have a garden that kids can go out and cultivate and also inspire them to take, you know, go home and start learning about growing their own food. And the thing is, if you're a child that's bored and you see the wonders of watching a little seed sort of develop into a sunflower, I think is quite extraordinary. I think it conjures up respect for the earth. It conjures up the wonders of the earth. It conjures up, you know, the fact that food doesn't come from Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
It's not made in Sainsbury's. It's like a farmer actually has actually cultivated the soil, etc., etc. And, you know, like with COP20, whatever it is at the moment, you know, and about the planet and everything, I actually do think from an early age, kids should learn to be out in the open, learn about nature a lot more, be activists like for nature, and learn to grow and understand where a carrot comes from, learn to grow and see where, because I think it creates a real appreciation for nature on
And
really on
curiosity.
many, and it hits so many profound aspects of life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Perfectly
You
makes
know,
sense.
and I think,
Couldn't
you
agree
know,
more.
when I think about me in a classroom at like 6, 7 years old, thinking I want to be outside. Can you imagine a teacher saying, look, right now, let's all go out and let's plant some seeds and watch them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And let's learn how to look after and what I wouldn't want to be in the classroom. I'd learn everything from being able to cultivate and learning about the planet and the earth. And
Well, they could have greenhouses, couldn't they, in schools as well?
Exactly. I really do think that is something that should be paramount. One of the things that should be paramount in schools is really connecting to nature through agriculture.
Yeah. We gave there's 2 really cute girls that live next door to us, and we gave them sunflower seeds in a pot in lockdown when everybody was growing stuff and trying not to lose their minds. And she saw that our sunflowers grew and hers didn't. She was she's 3. She was absolutely livid. She came round and was like, "It's broken." We sort of had to explain. I know. So you know, I fully endorse your idea, and I'm 100% behind it. But I know we were terrified.
Really?
Like, God, please let this one grow. Anyway,
That was funny.
she's very cute. Shirley, what was your idea around schools?
Well, I had a very hard time at school. I remember just the first time I went into the classroom, the smell, after kind of being nurtured by my mum, even though I was in a big family, I had this comfort. And so to kind of be separated from my mum, I found very traumatic. And then to sit on these cold, hard plastic seats and to pay attention to this person who was talking about things that were beyond me, because my learning ability was different from others. I'm a visual learner. I can get bored very quickly, like Peps. I can stare out the window, and then you're lost. And then you're criticized. Well, what are you doing? Why are you not doing that properly? And I remember spelling tests with just big red lines over it. And the more I knew I was doing things wrong, my confidence was horrendous. I would cry every day not to go to school, but no one understood. Just thought, oh, she must be naughty. She's
right.
Why don't you want to go to school? So for me, I believe that the system is totally wrong, and I was quite interested to see how a lot of kids got on learning in lockdown, because I thought that would have suited me perfectly to have been at home learning, having my lesson, but in my own, kind of in that comfort zone of my own home, not feeling like I'm in a classroom where they're all going to point a finger at me and say you've got it wrong, or the teacher's going to shout at me. So I became very ill. I got meningitis, and I hadn't been at school long because a teacher shook me so badly. I was so sick. She was physically attacked, and I was a small child. So I remember that happening. So my fear factor of school was horrendous until the day I left, until, I don't think I even took any GCSEs. So for me, that was that you carry that your whole life. It flares up in situations when I feel stupid, or if I lose my confidence. And I know what it goes back to. It goes back to those being that little girl. I think the schooling system needs to be more bespoke. And I think everyone has something they're good at, and if we can just I really like the Montessori style school. I went to look at that for my children, and I knew it didn't suit them when I got there, but I remember thinking, if only I was put through the Montessori system, where they look at the individual and encourage what you're good at. So because we're all good at something. So for me, school definitely ruined my life, in the sense that I was very traumatized, very, very traumatized. I never ever thought my kids had to go to university as well. And I think the pressure that parents have on them to put their kids in university, I thought I knew my kids weren't kind of real academics. They weren't going to be doctors and lawyers. So it would never cross my mind to put them in university. They never went, but they've done brilliantly. So
did they enjoy school, Shirley?
Roman enjoyed it more than Harley. Harley went to school because she had to, but she always had a strong kind of idea of who she was and what she. But no, but the only thing that I was very worried about as a parent is that they didn't go through my trauma, that school wasn't somewhere they cried every, I don't want to go there. So they did go to private schools. But yeah, Roman to this day says this, I love the schools that I went to. And Harley actually ended up going back to the school that she went to be a teacher for a while, because
nice.
They needed a photography teacher. So she was like, I can't believe I'm back in school being the teacher now. So you never know how things work out.
I was wondering about whether you were more sensitive to sending your kids there, somewhere where you obviously suffered a lot of trauma. It must have been difficult.
Yes. Yeah, it was. And I was really worried about putting my fear onto them about school. I mean, I was a bit lax. Sometimes Roman's homework Ro was a bright boy, but his homework was overwhelming. And I would just say to the teachers, he couldn't do it. He was too tired. You can't expect him to come home and do all that amount of homework. And yeah, he always had letters to tell the teacher. I always had some excuse that he couldn't do something. So, yeah, they just put too much pressure on him. And I just thought, no, I'm not having that. I don't think that's fair.
They're both doing brilliantly now and doing what they love to do.
You know what it is? Because it's more about your work ethic. It's about your ambition. It's about, how much you want to get out there and strive for it. And that's what I found more important to put into your children.
Yeah, I agree. Can we move on to your second way that you would change the world?
My second thing about changing the world, one thing that really, really causes me a lot of pain is animal abuse. Even the other day, I saw something with cows, what they were doing to them. It's barbaric. I mean, it's barbaric what we do to farmed animals. And I mean, worldwide, I'm not just saying England. And I remember years ago in the early 80s, I read this book, Why Not Eat Meat? And I thought, why not eat meat? Did it mean you should eat meat, or why not? So it was actually written by a farmer's son. And this book kind of fell on my lap accidentally. I went somewhere and I didn't buy it. I can't remember how it appeared. Anyway, I read this book. This farmer's son was predicting mad cow's disease. But he didn't call it mad cow's disease. It was a warning saying the farming system is out of control. And he said, do not eat meat. And I don't even want to kind of go into great detail because it's a bit horrible. But I remember I read this book and I thought, that is it. I just cannot eat meat again. And I'd gone through loads of times of being vegetarian. And then about 15 years, maybe 20 years later, mad cow's disease happened. And I remember watching the news and they were burning all these cows. And it was like, wow, that was the message in the book. That's what this guy was saying, the treatment of animals, what we're feeding them, how we're farming them. And so that was a reason why I kind of stopped eating meat. I mean, but obviously Pepsi and I went to China with Wham, and I had seen animal abuse full scale there.
I remember us being in the market. I remember seeing it before Shirley saw it. And you know when your mind can't actually adjust to what you're seeing because you can't believe what you're actually seeing. And then I looked again, and then there were these like sort of these meaty lumps, I'll call it, hanging up on a stand on this market store. And your mind adjusts and your eyes adjust and you look and you think, oh my gosh, they look like dogs. They look like dogs that had been stripped. And I was like, sure, don't turn round. In fact, should we walk the other way? Why? I want to go. No, you don't want to go that way. You really don't want to go that way. And Missy Bossy Shirley, it was like, no, I want to go that way. And I thought, all right, then you go ahead kind of thing. And there they were. She was like, her face, like your face is right now. Her face is like, I cannot believe this. She just went white. Looking at and she was just absolutely disgusted, traumatized, everything. And I remember turning around. I said, see, told you not to go that way. But this market was just extraordinary because
told you.
And as we're going through, you're looking, and then these like sort of like their baskets with like jumping frogs and birds and all the thing, and you could see that they'll pick up the frogs and tie them up so all their bellies would expand, and it was really,
horrendous.
It was quite extraordinary. And actually, for a while, I was vegetarian because of that, even before the book, because I remember Shirley sharing the book.
I couldn't even eat vegetables. I lived off strawberry milkshake or something. I was only on fluids. I couldn't eat.
The weirdest experience.
I would have gone intravenous if I could have.
You're both huge animal lovers now, aren't you? You really are.
Oh my gosh, I love, oh my goodness me. Yeah, like nature, animals are just like the unconditional love. You know, you nurture, you get love. Yeah.
And your recommendation, Pepsi, was that once a week we should all turn all of the tech off. Go into nature, just be
off.
Yeah.
For the past month or so, I've been turning my phone off on Sundays.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I turn it off. And if I have to call a family member or so, I will make that phone call and turn my phone off. And what's happening?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I turn it off, and I've got my husband doing it as well. So on Sundays, we turn our phone off. We do the gardening. We go out. We do all the other stuff. And then on Monday, you feel really vibrant. You're kind of ready to go. And then you kind of look at things in a completely different way. And it's only a day. Even if you did it for
like that. Yeah. I'm going to start that.
Well, we've been doing it on
You've changed the world already, Pep.
Yeah. Turn it off. For instance, even if I'm kind of like there and I'm reading a book or whatever, I'll pick up my phone and Google something that I don't, and I can't do that on that day. So I've got to use my brain for 5 minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's really changing my kind of device thing. I'm kind of realizing it does affect me more.
You have an independence from
it. Yeah, you realize you can do without it and nothing's going to happen.
I mean, when you think about, I used to remember all my friends and family's telephone number.
Mm-hmm. I know.
I can't remember.
Now I wouldn't know one.
I can't even remember my husband's. Like, you know.
I know, we're all screwed in an emergency, aren't we?
Really kind of. So every Sunday I turn my phone off.
That's brilliant.
So if you want to talk to me, Cheryl, you've got to talk to me on Saturday now.
So don't ring her.
I'm very glad you didn't do that during the book campaign, because that would have made me very stressed.
Yes.
I'm going to say to you, I did call you back, Peps. When?
Yeah, right.
Sunday.
Yeah. Try that
Your phone
one.
was turned off. I don't know
Try
why.
that one.
That links seamlessly into your third thing, Pepsi, which is also it's kind of a thing about interconnectedness and mindfulness. Do you want to talk us through your third movement for change?
Well, I feel, and I've seen it, and I've been there, and I've felt it, that people are losing the thing of courtesy. You know, to be courteous to each other. You know, thank you, no thank you, hi, bye, or whatever. How you doing today?
Yeah, Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one thing that for instance, again, I was in the UK and we were doing the sort of promotion on the book. There was something that I missed while I was there that I experienced here in St. Lucia. So one of the things that happens wherever you go, especially in the mornings, if you're in a bank, if you're in a supermarket, if you're somewhere doing whatever you're doing, if someone comes into the room, they will say good morning to you. Good morning. And you say good morning back. And that's an instant respect. And it's like it's like it's courteous, it's respectful, and then you're on an even keel.
And you're acknowledging each other, right?
Exactly.
Nice.
And you can actually talk to each other. And when I was in the UK, I kind of missed that. And I noticed also, not only there, here too, you know, people just are very flippant with each other. And it's either, you know, it's just, I like, I don't like, thumbs up, thumbs down, that kind of thing. And I think it's affecting our mindfulness as well, our consciousness, our way of being, not only with ourselves and with other people. And I just think those who are the hierarchy in government are losing their sense of courtesy too, to the country, community, society, because a lot of the powers that be are doing things without even saying sorry, without explaining themselves, without highlighting the fact that it may have hurt you, but I'm really sorry. I did something wrong here, you know. So what's happening? The young are growing up, not having to sort of justify certain things that they do. And it takes away this sort of mindful way of being in the world, and it disconnects us where you're all right, Jack, you're all right, Jack. But the thing is, we are all connected. So when someone says good morning, everyone says good morning. And I've experienced it, and it's like, it's the most beautiful thing. And it's just good morning, 2 words, you know, good morning.
Was it something you, were your parents quite hot on politeness and courtesy?
Yeah, my mother used to say to me, never let an old person pass you without you saying hello and good morning. That's what she used to say to me. But I never understood it there. But now I'm in St. Lucia, I get it. I really, really get it. I mean, my husband, he's not from the Caribbean. He's a Norfolk boy. And when he kind of gets a kick out of it too, and it makes him feel really good. It makes us feel really good. And I just think, you know, it crosses the line into communication. So, you know, when someone sends a message, there are some people that don't answer back. Excuse me. And, you know, good morning. Yes. You know, and just that, thank you. And because the thing is, there's a mutual respect for each other. But it has to happen. It has to and it creates an interconnectedness, you know. But I know where it's coming from.
Can I say though, Peps? I think a big reason for that is because life in the Western world has become so fast and so frantic that it's made people very defensive.
I get that.
Like we're on a defense mechanism because we have got so much to do. I'm not saying this is the excuse. I'm saying kind of it's what, I mean, today I went to a supermarket and I saw this old lady struggling with two shopping with the trolleys. And I said, oh, would you like me to, if you're finished with that? She went, no, I haven't. One's for my friend.
Goodness.
And then I said, I was only trying to help you. And she went, oh, I'm so sorry. What a grouch.
Yeah.
Because I was going to try and help her, but she was so on the defensive about these. And so, but I think that's who we are now. It's how we want to live.
Who you are now. It's not who you are. That's the point. This is not
it's not who we are, but it's how a culture is becoming.
It's not.
We're in a culture of defense.
It's not good.
It's not.
No, it's not good. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just analysing it.
4 or 5 people here. If 4 or 5 people just made an effort to say thank you every so often to somebody, it would resonate through whoever's life that you said thank you to that day. I'm sure of it. You know,
it's absolutely true.
I just don't want to accept it. I don't want to accept it.
I think it's defensiveness, but it's also fear. I mean, I'm really sad to say that if I sit down on the tube and if a man next to me says good morning, I will immediately be like, oh no, he's a weirdo. Oh no, who is he? Why is he talking to me?
Sad?
Which is really so sad. It is sad.
It's really, really, really saddening that this is what's becoming, because this is where we're disconnecting to us as humans. You know, this is the whole disconnect.
Very true.
So there you go.
Shirley, do you want to take us? There you go. Just be nice, all right?
Be bloody nice, will you?
Shirley, do you want to take us through your last movement for
Well,
change?
my one, once again, we'll go back to being parenting and schools, because I grew up again with all that fear. So the teaching of fear from an early age, because it's fear that creates, you know, like wars, like that's my land, the biggest wars are over stealing land and thinking and no one owns this earth. So just trying to talk about why we need things and why, if we lost them, what could happen, and just the psychology. I mean, I remember watching this program years ago, and it's at a certain age when a child will suddenly experience fear, and it's the toddler age when they want something and they're screaming because someone else has taken it. But it's capturing, right, what does that really mean? What is that screaming about? You know, raising children is so fundamentally the future. It's how we're raising them and what psychology they're learning. And fear seems to be the biggest threat to the planet. I mean, these big greedy companies who just want how much money can you have? How much of something can you have? Teaching people that more isn't better. But more, it comes from fear. More.
Well, the thing is, Shil, also, I think that as far as human beings, a lot of okay, let's talk about COVID. It's fear, total, absolute fear. It exists. It's here. I've come to the conclusion, like for instance, in St. Lucia, we've been having curfews and lockdowns and all the rest. I've come to the conclusion we should just open up the country. Why? Because when I was in England, people would just, it was freaky. It was like, it was open, things would do. You know, people were still afraid of it. Obviously, it's understandable. But the thing is, common sense has become it's like a way of being that is becoming really rare, this thing of common sense. So, you know, if there's something out there, you have to protect yourself. You know, either you get assistance through a vaccine or you don't. And if you don't, there are things you should do. And if you do, there are still things that you should do. But the fear comes from the government trying to persuade you to do something. And if you don't do it, this is what's actually going to happen to you. But the thing is, it loses its common sense. It's more about, we are telling you to do this, which builds up fear.
But we saw that firsthand with the loo roll panic buying.
I mean,
and there was no pasta, there were no eggs. And it was just mad. It was like people were really afraid.
But Shirley, the weird thing here, which was quite extraordinary, we were watching this from this little island in the Caribbean thinking, hold on a second, What people do with all that toilet paper? What they want with all that
really
toilet
good
paper? They just go to the washroom and they wash themselves. They don't even need toilet paper. Either I buy rice or toilet paper. I buy rice. It's like this whole. It's the most. It's like I was watching.
It's comical. It's absolutely
it was the most
comical.
extraordinary thing to watch, and it's like the fear of not having toilet paper. And if you really think about it, do you know what? You can actually live without toilet paper.
That's true. But you know, the other fear was.
I don't want to think of
Anyway, I'm going to take it away from that conversation. So, Shirlie, so I think the fear thing is really interesting. What I'm really curious about is, Shirlie, you did suffer quite a lot of fear when you were a child, but your ability to get up on stage for both of you and sing and dance in front of strangers, and it's really, you know, incredible. And that's where, for me, I would have the fear then. So how did you find this courage to do it?
Because who's going to hurt you when you're on stage doing that? Where is the fear? What can happen to you? What can hurt you?
And you were with your friends.
No one can shake you like I've been shaken as a child. So for me, that's what I would call freedom. Well, I can just get up here with Pepsi, my partner in crime, pretend we're Pan's people. Like, am I really that lucky? To me, whereas fear would be to me, like if I got asked to go and do a speech somewhere, maybe. Because what if I got tongue-tied? What if I forgot what I was saying? That would feel fearful, to stand up in a room and do a lecture or a speech. But to get up and sing a song that you know that people love music. You know that people, you know, like if you're wearing great clothes and I just know that if I know that I like to watch that, then why wouldn't I want to be doing that? So the fear there is no fear there.
I mean, show makes it sound really easy, because I know that there's a lot of people that have real stage fright. But for us, it's like, hey, let's go then. Whoop, whoop, here we go kind of thing. We want to entertain. I mean, for me, when I discovered the thing of the stage was when I was at primary school. It was like we were doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I was Sneezy, and I was the last one, and I did this flick of my leg and everyone laughed, and I thought, I want that. I really want to do that again. You know what I mean? I made them laugh. I made that kind of entertain.
You didn't put that in the book, did you?
I was just thinking that's a great story.
Yeah, that's a good sneezy story.
I didn't put that in the book.
For the paperback.
Yeah, thank you. So it that moment for me was a moment of, there's a reaction. There's something I can do. There's something that I can do to get a reaction and make other people happy. But the thing is, I will say about Shirlie's a very interesting performer. Here we go. Here we go. Before she gets on stage, very calm, like really kind of, so Shirley, you know that, I'm fine. Everything's, and she gives, like, I would say 65%, you know, and it's taken me years to understand that. So she'll get the song, she'll understand it, she'll sing it in a way that she's learning, and we can kind of do our little rehearsals and everything.
This is rehearsal,
kind of rehearsal kind of thing. So she kind of gives that 65%. So if you were to see this, you think, I don't know. I mean, really, is she going to get on there and kind of do it? Because I'll be...
it's all right.
I mean, is she going to do it? I don't know. I have no idea. She goes, I'm like, gosh, she can never do anything. But then what happens is she hits the stage. La la! I'm here. And there have been moments where I would look and I think, look at that. Look at this thing. Look at this person on stage doing her thing. So for both of us, being on stage is an opportunity just to, like Shirlie says, this freedom. Like, you've been restricted in rehearsals. I love rehearsing. But, you know, now we're doing it. You know what I mean?
Reserving the energy.
Exactly. And then
reserving the energy. And acting the part.
And then seeing a crowd react, they're there for you. And it's like you're given I tend to sort of give my ego, but at the same time, you've got to kind of put it away. where you just want to entertain and just give, you know.
You just got to be pans people.
It's a perfect way to end this podcast. Be more pants
Be more
people.
pants people.
And don't use loo roll. There you go.
Yeah.
You don't need loo roll. Think about it.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on Prima Donna
thanks
podcast
for
today. It's
having
been an
us.
absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It's very enjoyable.
Good.
The world as it should be. The world as it should be. The world as it should be.
The World as It Should Be from Prima Donna.